Hello friends, today's topic is on improving our communication through a dialogue. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and share it so that more and more people can benefit from this video. In our communication, we see arguments, we see discussions happening, and we also see a form of a dialogue. Before we begin into what is a dialogue, briefly to give you a gist on argument and discussion. In an argument, the central theme is who is right. And this is the worst form of communicator. In a discussion, the central theme is what is right. A bit better than the argument form of communication. Here we put ourselves in the other person's situation. In a dialogue, the theme is what is right for both, a win-win situation for both. It is also called as a position of a stranger, a fly on the wall position, or a neutral position, which is devoid of all emotions. Friends, the meaning of the communication is the response that you get. It is not the intention of the communicator, but the perception of the receiver of the communication. So we saw in these three stages of argument, a discussion, and a dialogue, the dialogue is the best because it is devoid of all emotions. Just as people in general like to assume that they are mature, they also assume that all adults operate on a level of dialogue wherever they converse. So therefore we need to understand what exactly is dialoguing. The aim of dialogue in a communication is more than just to convince people. It is aimed at to be understood by all, by both the parties, for whoever is communicating, and to understand the other person. And dialogue builds through technically 4 stages. The first stage in a dialogue is of self-acceptance. The goal of this level is to come to a deeper understanding of who I am. The second stage of this dialogue process is self-revelation. The goal in this stage is to risk vulnerability and self-revelation. This is when one learns to disclose the discovered self. The third level is of faith sharing. The goal is to share a common faith, because when you share something, you feel more comfortable. The fourth level, now you reach into a dialogue. So to reach to a level of dialogue, you need to cross these 3 stages. And the goal is to experience genuine communication. And this will always remain a process rather than an accomplished goal. The word dialogue is loosely used in everyday speech. It is therefore not to be wondered at that person speaking of dialoguing when, strictly speaking, they have merely exchanged a few superficial words with another. We have a beautiful story of Jesus portraying the paradigm of dialogue. We look at the story of the Samaritan woman at the well, the Gospel of Saint John, chapter 4, verse 4 to 20, and I will read that episode. He had to pass through Samaria, and so he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of land that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired from his journey, sat down there at the well, and it was about noon. A woman of Samaria came to draw water from that well, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How can you, a Jew, ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink?" This is because Jews use nothing in common with Samaritans. That was the culture at that time. And Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you do not even have a bucket, and the cistern is deep. Where then can you get this living water? Are you greater than our fathers, Jacob, who gave us this cistern and drank from it himself with his children and his flocks?" And Jesus answered and said to her, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I shall give will never thirst. The water I shall give will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water, so that I may not be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." And Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come back." The woman answered and said to him, "I do not have a husband." And Jesus answered, "You are right in saying, 'I do not have a husband.' For you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you people say that the place to worship is in Jerusalem." This is the word of the Lord. The word of the Lord. Now we just heard the story of the Samaritan woman at the well. We heard the reading from the Gospel of Saint John, chapter 4, verse 4 to 20. How does Jesus create a paradigm for dialogue? We'll see in these 5 steps. First, Jesus creates a climate of dialogue. Jesus does the unexpected. He greets this Samaritan with the courtesy not usually found between the Jews and the Samaritans. Not only is she a Samaritan, but she is a woman. A climate for a relationship is set up. His actions and words first create a climate where growth and inner healing can take place. The second stage, Jesus reveals a compassionate perception of the person before him. Others from the village may see her as a loose woman. Christ sees her as a woman alone, hurting and confused, and leads her into a conversation about herself. He sees people with problems rather than problem people. So you understand the difference? He sees people with problems rather than problematic people. The third stage, Jesus makes a personal response to her hurt. He does not condemn her, but accepts her and forgives her even before she asks for forgiveness. He reveals to her his own identity. He responds to people where they are. Jesus responds to people wherever they are, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and whatever their need is. The fourth stage, Jesus initiates a relationship with her. Having begun communicating with her, he leads her from fear to real listening, to questioning, to sharing her beliefs. So Jesus risks entering into relationship with others, shares himself with them, and invites them to live and to grow. And finally, in the last stage, Jesus confronts her with her lack of commitment. His concern arouses in her a sense of life and receptivity to his message. His confrontation lifts a burden from her shoulders. The Samaritan woman has risked herself in this encounter, and Jesus has met her on the same level, the level of dialogue, of genuine communication. So Jesus confronts them with their weaknesses, but calls them to life and growth. You see, dialogue is the dynamic that Christ used. Only after Jesus has established a relationship with the Samaritan woman is he able to enter into a dialogue with her. And the same should be true for us. We have a beautiful example here. We see dialogue is a product of constructive relationships in which people have achieved self-knowledge, self-esteem, and maturity sufficient to permit exchange of thoughts, feelings, and ideas without sacrificing their own values or moral codes. And these exchanges are verbal. I hope you have learned a new form of communication through dialogue. Let's practice this. Until I see you in another video. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe on the channel for more videos. Thank you for listening. God bless you.